I want to make a comment on the North Korean situation. People ask why North Korea is so defensive and adamant and defiant. And you have to understand in a historical context what happened to the Koreans. What happened in the Korean Peninsula, the reason they became so close is because of war. And why they hate the United States so much is because the United States bombed the shit out of them in the Korean War. It was a next war after the Second World War, and it was absolute carpet bombing and the rest of the murderous tactics used by the West, United States government, on them. And so they're never going to trust any type of dealings with the United States. If you look at the amount of casualties and deaths and everything caused by the United States bombing during the Korean conflict war, which was not deemed a war, it was called a police action. It's just wording. It's just a war. They used tactics that they had vowed not to use during the Second World War, after the Allies bombed the civilian population of the Germans for the specific reason not to take infrastructure or nothing. When they bombed Hamburg, it had nothing to do, I'm talking about the Second World War, it had nothing to do with damaging infrastructure or attacking military targets. They purposely, the Allies, under the Allied commander, I believe it was Harris, the British guy, say they gather a lot of criticism, even from the Allies, from civilian and governments, that it was just mass murder because they were just attacking civilian cities, civilian populations in Germany that had nothing to do with military targets, and they just went ahead and did it anyways. And there was so much outcry against that. I mean, women, children, just because they're German doesn't mean you're at war with the German government and the military doesn't mean you get to go and bomb the shit out of everybody. That's not a military target, and it was not an asymmetrical warfare like the one we have now against terrorist organizations. This was conventional warfare where you could identify the enemies. There they are. They're in a garrison. They're identified by the uniforms and the formations and everything. You could just target them. Of course, they're heavily defended, but what they were trying to do, the Allies, was to break the morale of the German people so that they would rise up against the government. And it backfired on them, because I don't care who you are. If you bomb civilian populations, the people who are launching the bombs, they're the enemies. They're actually end up galvanizing the resolve of those people that are being bombed in support of the government. As bad as the Nazis were, they were the only thing that was firing back at the people who were bombing the civilian populations in Germany. So they had ended up garnering more support and giving them more of an excuse for the Germans to continue their bombardment of the Allies and continue their murderous invasion of the rest of Europe and the rest of the Mediterranean and wherever they bombed. So the same thing happened with Korea. In Korea, when they started bombing the shit out of just carpet bombing everything in North Korea, they galvanized the population against the South Koreans and the West, and in this case the United States. So that never went away, and we're talking, the estimates are in the millions of that. I don't know. You have to look them up. It depends on who you listen to. But I mean, and unfortunately, this is the problem with wars. When you are not surgical in your strikes and you bomb civilian populations and you produce casualties, you kill people that are not combatants, that are not enemy combatants, you end up creating more enemies, because it's natural. If you kill my loved ones, I don't care who you are, I'm coming for you, and all of a sudden, a little, not a little, but a repressive regime that was, curtailing the liberties of my civil liberties of my loved ones, but not killing me and my loved ones, doesn't seem so bad, and I'm probably gonna ally with them if they're fighting you, because you bombed my family. So war makes for strange bedfellows. That's where it comes from. So that's why people say, well, the United States saved the Korean Peninsula from becoming completely overrun by the communist North. That is partially true. People say, well, if we hadn't done that, communism would have taken over. I got news for you. China is the biggest communist nation on earth, and also they're the biggest seller of goods to the United States. So, that business about the communists being the boogeyman and blah, blah, blah. Sure, communism has a lot of negative things to it, but so does market economy. So does capitalism. Capitalism, in its raw form, produces enormous amounts of poverty and suffering and destruction of the planet. So a balance of collectivism, of collective effort, and taking care of each other, what we would call socialism, which, by the way, is not. Cuba is no socialist. Cuba is a dictatorship. Neither is Venezuela. Venezuela is a dictatorship. The social democracy that balances elements of market economies with elements of socialist democracies, it would be ideal for as a system to live in and protect our environment and protect the humans at the same time, and prosper and give enough incentive for those who want to put the effort forward to increase their financial gains or their wealth or whatever you want to call it. But so Vietnam, after the United States pulled out, the North completely overran the South. In Vietnam, it's a North and South. It's one Vietnam. There's no North and South now. There's one Vietnam. Vietnam is a communist nation. Now, a name communist nation because they have elements of market economies, and a lot of their financial systems have elements of market economies, and some of them have elements of communist systems. So this thing that we saved Korea it doesn't fly. Yes, South Korea has become a powerful economy, and they have social programs that we don't have in the United States. So everything's got its pros and its cons, but this business about using war to prevent war never works, never has, and never will. War will produce war. That's it. Now, how to solve the problem with North Korea being like this? Well, the people who have the power to influence North Korea are China and, believe it or not, Pakistan. Because Pakistan, it was a Pakistani engineer, scientist, who taught all the nuclear technology to North Korea. It was a rogue Pakistani nuclear scientist, but you know, there was a lot of money and a lot of politics involved in that. It's not like they didn't know about it. The intelligence agencies knew about it when this guy was trading the secrets of nuclear power to North Korea. And also, North Koreans are not operating in a vacuum. Somebody is giving these people the technology for missiles, the missile technology, the computer power, all the know-how and the scientific know-how to making it available to North Korea. Now, that would be nice to find out who it is that's doing that, because they're just using them as a proxy. I doubt very much that they're going to reveal who that is, but I'm sure that they know who that is. The intelligence communities, the high ranking, and the people on the ground, the intelligence officers. It's not like the West doesn't have intelligence on the ground in Korea. That's not what's going on. We have people in there, and I think the best way to do that, it's going to be through computer hacking, through going into their systems and disabling them, and sponsoring a coup to remove this the power structure, the guy at the top. Now you have a population that's heavily fanaticized and brainwashed. But there's also a lot of people who have woken up inside of there and have you know, are going to welcome a change in structure, or the power structure, a decentralization, mainly a toppling of the dictatorship from this guy at the top. And people think, oh, it's just one guy. No, one guy does not control an entire nation. There's a power apparatus. This guy at the top, he has people around him, okay? And there are people, this guy has bosses. It's just, they're not going to tell you. There's one guy does not operate the whole system. That's not how it works. You have an entire structure of people that are supporting Kim Jong-un. So the dictator of North Korea. So, you know, you're going to have to influence that power structure at the top, bribe them, whatever, you know, do whatever is necessary. And sometimes, you know, the problem with assassinations is that when they get found out who ordered the assassination, a lot of heads roll. And if it gets found out that it's a Western power who was sponsoring that, it could lead to a nuclear war. So you would have to do it through proxies to do this. And just killing one guy is not going to collapse the system. It will start some type of domino effect, and you will probably have military people at the top. But it's probably going to start with the people, you know. But you need the support of the military structures, and sometimes you're going to have to corrupt them, and corrupt them with some type of ideology that touches them in their emotions. So I hope that they solve it, but because it looks ugly. The way it's looking right now, it looks ugly, especially with this asshole in the White House who doesn't have a clue about diplomacy or history. Yeah, it's not looking good. But I hope that if they solve this, which I don't see it happening under this administration, it leads to a better Korea and to a better world, you know, and to disarmament of nuclear weapons. We don't need that shit, you know. We need to get rid of them. So hopefully peace will prevail, but it's going to take time.